Hey guys, it's Karalynn and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk all about leadership, entrepreneur, and the business journey with my great guest, Victoria King Meyer. She is the host of The Chemical Show, a top-rated podcast in the chemical industry that's grown to be in the top 5% of all podcasts globally. She's the founder of Progressio Global, where she helps businesses and leaders grow through strategy, connection, and storytelling. With over 25 years of experience in corporate leadership, Victoria understands what it takes to build something impactful, and she loves sharing what she learned along the way. Good morning, Victoria. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for coming. So before we dive in, kind of tell us the background, the history of how you got to where you are now, and a little bit about the Chemical Show too.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the short story, which is, I'll start with college. How's that? I'm a chemical engineer with an MBA. I actually grew up on a small farm, and I think what's interesting is when you talk to people across the chemical industry and other industries, a lot of engineers actually have a farming background. For me, it's all about problem solving and creating and other things. So I spent the first 25 years of my career in corporate America, starting out as an engineer and doing projects and manufacturing, moving into the business after I did my MBA. And so everything from strategy and mergers and acquisitions and leading teams and leading businesses and turning around businesses and starting up businesses. And it was great until it wasn't. And so in 2017, I left corporate. I had been working for Clariant at that point in time, although the big majority of my career was at Shell Chemical here in Houston. And I left in corporate in 2017 and I kicked the tires on a few things and I just started to start my own consulting business. So Progressio Global was launched with a focus of helping leaders across the industry, both with strategy, with their own personal growth. So I did a lot of strategy work initially and actually have really migrated much to a more advisory role. Along the way, I fell in love with podcasting. And I remember the first time somebody told me that, I'm like, my brother-in-law, I can blame him for this. He lived in Chicago at the time. He still lives in the Chicago area, but he would commute by train to the office. And I said, well, what do you do on the train every day? Do you read? Do you whatever? He's like, I listen to a daily sports podcast. And I was like, you do what? Like what? What are you talking about? I thought it was crazy. Fast forward, 2021, I launched my own podcast. I had discovered podcasting, falling in love with it. And as an entrepreneur and business owner, one of the things they always tell you is you have to build authority. You have to create a space, share your point of view. And I saw podcasting as one way to do that. So in 2021, I launched The Chemical Show, really with this idea of connecting myself and other leaders to the broader industry, because I recognize that there's an opportunity for great storytelling that in traditional media, really a very small percentage of companies get showcased. And yet people learn from people. We want to hear what others are dealing with, how they're growing, what their challenges are, what their opportunities are, et cetera. So that actually reflected a pretty big pivot point in my business. So I've gone from corporate to being more of a consultant entrepreneur to where I am today, which is a media business owner. So I've got The Chemical Show. I have a conference called the Chemical Summit. I run a mastermind called the Chemical Executive Mastermind. You guys can notice the theme. I'm leaning in. I've just leaned into it, and more. And it's really, it's expanded my reach, changed my point of view. And I feel like it's given me a chance to really influence and engage others in a really meaningful way.
So let me ask you about your podcast, The Chemical
Yeah.
Show. It's done great. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Are you like out searching for guests? Is there like a line that you keep that you want it related to this? Is it niche? Tell me more about how you
Yeah.
develop your guests and how you get people that want to be on the show.
I will tell you, it's always a combination. There are times I'm searching for guests. There are other times guests are coming to me. It is really chemical industry centric. So they are, and it's leadership focused. So these tend to be business leaders, perhaps technology leaders or supply chain leaders in and adjacent to the chemical industry. So both public and private companies. So,
Yeah.
I've had folks on from BASF and Exxon and Shell and others, as well as private companies. And it's really quite a mix of and diverse group of people.
But it's still all about the chemical industry
It
and people from
is.
that industry. I
It
guess it must
is.
be, it's niche, but it's a big industry.
It's $1 trillion industry. So actually, in many ways, the chemical show, in some ways, is a little bit generic
Gotcha.
because it covers a bit of everything. But one of the things I'm actually doing is later this year is launching some additional podcasts that create a bit more structure into some specific product areas. But yeah, I toyed with doing other things, and I've said frankly this is my space. I've spent my whole career in the chemical industry in one form or another. I tried to break free a couple different times. I was unsuccessful with that. And then I just decided to lean in. But it's interesting that you talk about how big it is, because before I launched the chemical show, I struggled with what was it going to be? What was my
Mhm.
niche? Because I felt like niche meant really small. And then I was actually out for a walk, listening to some podcast, I wish I knew what it was. And it, like, this moment of clarity came to me, like, keep it simple. The chemical
Yeah.
show, just go. Yeah, and it's been great.
Awesome. You said you hold an event too.
Yes. So the Chemical Summit, in fact, it's coming up here later this year, September 30th and October 1st. So I launched it really to build on the chemical show, and this, again, bringing in some of the part of the community, right, of people that are listening to the chemical show and loving it. Many of the chemical show guests are actually speakers or in the room for this. And so the chemical summit's a bit unique because, like every industry, there is a wealth of conferences that people can go to. So
Yeah.
everything from the trade shows, which are full of booths and filling the front end of the funnels, and you're running the gauntlet, to conferences that are really speed dating and meet and greets, right? So as a
Mhm.
business leader, you have 20 meetings, or people have 40 to 50 meetings over 3 days, and you're exhausted and you're just,
Yeah.
and again, it's very transactional. You go from point to point to point. When I created the chemical summit, I recognized there was this gap in the ability to connect with other leaders, to really sit and think. And I have been to conferences, and I'm sure you have as well, Karalynn, where, like, somebody's on stage and they're talking about whatever. They're talking,
Mhm.
they're sharing some new and great thing that they're doing, and oh, they're so awesome. And what I always have wanted to do is just turn to the person next to me and say, seriously? Like, are you doing this? Well, at the Chemical Summit, we actually create that space. So after every speaker and panel, we take 10 to 15 minutes and say, okay, talk about it at your table. Are you
Really?
doing this? How does this resonate with you? Um, how is your company approaching it? Because again, I am a big believer that people learn from people, that leaders need to surround themselves with other leaders, and that we get inspired, we build those connections, we get clarity, and more from people, not
Mhm.
just from thought leadership, not just from talking heads on a stage. And so that's really what I've done. So this is going to be year 3. It's a
Really?
small conference, 150 people, which also allows really great connection, conversation, and relationship building.
That's awesome. That's a
Yeah.
huge, even if it's still a huge feat to pull all that
Yeah,
off and get everybody.
girl. It is
Praise to you. I've been
It's a
to several. I've been a
huge
speaker at
undertaking.
several.
I will say, when I decided to do this in 2023, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. This is going to be fine. And several people introduced me, when I started talking to people about it, they introduced me to maybe event planners or whatever. And people said, it's going to take 3 years to be profitable. I'm like, no, it's not. It's going to be profitable year 1. I'm like, well, let me just tell you, it takes 3 years to get profitable. So,
Yeah, I've heard, and it's a
but
lot of work.
it's a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. And for me, it becomes part of this. It's really a different kind of business, a different business than anything I've ever done. right? And so I've had to learn a lot, had to bring in the right resources and learn from people. But it becomes this connection from, the chemical show is one to many. When I
Yeah.
speak to my guests, I have that one-on-one relationship, but my audience, my community is many people. When we get to the chemical summit, it's a smaller group. So it's 1 to 100, right? And it's creating this community and this relationship. And then off the chemical summit, I have a mastermind group. So groups of 8 to 10 people, leaders who want to grow, who are in transition in some way, whether they're seeking their next job, whether they're new to a role, whether they just frankly don't have trusted advisors around them, which, as it turns out, many, many people don't have trusted advisors around them. Even if you're in a big company, a lot of times your peers are your competitors.
Mm.
So you can only be so candid with where you have a question, where you need help, how you're positioning yourself, because you're positioning yourself against other people. So it's created this really unique opportunity and experience that, frankly, I've modeled in many ways against leaders and entrepreneurs in other business areas.
Do you think that's extremely helpful to have like that circle of people you could go to, or do you find that like a few people that are good at what they do to kind of take over?
Yeah, no, I think a circle is so important. I know when I started my own entrepreneurial journey, it's freaking lonely. Right.
Mhm.
So I take a step back. When I was in corporate, I spent a big part of my career at Shell. Shell is such a big company. I did have these communities and networks and peer groups and support groups that I trusted advisors internally that I could go to. Then I left Shell and went to Clariant for a couple of years. And Clariant's also a large global company, but as it turns out, it's actually quite small.
Mhm.
And so I recognized the challenge in creating your own community, your own support network, et cetera. And then when I became an entrepreneur, it was like crickets. Because all of the people in my life until that point in time, they were corporate people.
Mhm.
They'd give me advice, but they'd give me advice more like, I don't know how you can do this. I'm like, because
Exactly.
I'm doing this, because I can, and I am. And so I feel really fortunate in having built my own community of entrepreneurs. I've participated in mastermind groups. I've participated in coaching groups. I have created my posse. Is it a perfect posse? No. And so I continue to invest in masterminds, in programs, in other groups because I need to feed myself. I need to feed my business, and I'm not done growing yet. So I think it's really critical. And I think when you stick with the same group, you're kind of stuck. You have to keep evolving and adding new people in, new resources in, people that have a different angle on where you've been. And who I am today and who you are today is actually quite different than who I was a year ago.
I agree. That's how you know you're doing it right, right?
Yeah. And it's a little scary because not everybody has that growth mindset. I mean, so
No,
to
I
me, it's
agree.
this. I didn't understand what a growth mindset was, by the way, because like people throw that word around. I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever, growth mindset. But now I've kind of recognized it and realized, oh, yeah, it's the growth mindset is the fact that I'm not done yet. I'm
Yeah.
still learning. I have more places to go, more people to see, more goals to achieve, um, more people to engage with.
Gotcha. Okay, so tell me about the leadership mindset. What is
Yeah.
that and how important is it, like being a leader and starting your own thing?
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting because I think I sometimes struggle with being a leader versus a manager,
Yeah.
quite honestly, because it's a different gig, right? So for
Mhm.
me, this leadership mindset is a lot of it's about being able to see and set a vision, and follow through and get people on board with you, right? So I have a small team, part timers. I'm very fortunate to have them to go with me. But to me, this idea of leadership mindset is it's about this bigger picture and it's setting the direction and it's really serving people in a lot of ways, not asking people to serve you, but serving people. I think about how I serve the chemical community and the leaders and people that are in my community, and I think that's so critical. But it is about it's about being forward thinking. It's about recognizing that you're setting a direction for a reason, and a reason perhaps beyond yourself. I mean, frankly, it's okay to be selfish. I mean, we're all selfish. I'm not doing this for the goodness of others, but I'm also doing it, so there's a side that I'm serving me, but I'm
Yeah.
also serving the goodness of others.
No, I agree. And I can see like coming out of the corporate world, you were implementing somebody else's vision, right? And then
Yeah,
to all of a sudden come up with your own vision and then get a team behind that vision. It's scary.
it's
It's
really
hard to do.
scary. Um, I will say I am super fortunate. I have a great husband. I mean, he has been my supporter all the way. And so that helps a lot because you have to have people in your corner. So I couldn't do what I do if he doesn't do what he does and supports me and stuff. Um, I think, though, even in corporate, I remember this promotion and this role I moved into. And um, I had a boss, Dan Carlson, who was really great, great coach and mentor, and really just and somebody that I can emulate. He taught me a lot, and he's like, "Okay, you actually have to make this switch from doing to leading." It's like, this is your chance. You want to get to the next level. You have to flip the switch and go from the one that knows everything and can do everything to the one that can direct and lead and nurture and guide. And that's hard. And it's
Yeah.
hard to do as an entrepreneur because you don't necessarily have a lot of people around you. Right. So in the corporate world, you got to, hundreds of people like, hey, I can do this. I'll just go get, Susie Q and Billy Bob to do something. It's like, oh no, I got to figure out how to do this shit myself.
No, and as entrepreneur too, sometimes you're really afraid to give up that control because and it's true. I've read several books about it'll be done, but it's not the same as if you did it.
I
So
know.
is
It's so
done
hard.
at 80% better than not done at all?
I know. So I asked ChatGPT recently to tell me my 5 biggest blind spots based on everything you know about me, how I've done it. And I use Chat a lot over the past 2 years. I've kind of really grown into it, and that was one of the blind spots. Was
Really,
this? You know how to do it all, but you're gonna have to relinquish control to really
that's hard to
grow.
do. Man. That's
It's
hard.
hard to do, and then it's also this idea, and I wrestle with this, and I know as an entrepreneur, perhaps you wrestle with this as well, which is paying, finding and paying for the resources before your business can actually handle it. So, whatever your business goal is, like, okay, to have $1 million business, what do I need to have in $1 million business? And do I wait until I hit that point before I resource that way? Or do I do it now? Or it's a $10 million business or whatever the size of your business is. And you actually, and I'm on this journey because I'm on a real growth path at the moment, but okay, suck it up, buttercup, because when you're at point B, this is the team that you need. And you're not going to get there if you only stay with this, with your point A team. And it's hard.
So
Because
there's
it's
two types, in my experience, two types of
yeah,
business leaders,
yeah,
and the kind that jump and figure it out.
yeah,
Those are the reckless, scary kind, and the kind that overanalyze and move very slowly. And
yeah.
so my husband and I are both business owners.
Okay.
I'm the kind that jumps and figures things out,
Okay, good. I like
scares
that.
the shit out of
Me
him.
too, by the way. So I'm liking
But
that.
here's the thing that I can tell you that I've done wrong as that type of person is
Yeah.
that I hired people in big positions
Mm,
thinking that they knew more than me. And it's not necessarily that they didn't know more than me, but they didn't know what I needed and how I needed things
yeah.
run. And so I guess my lack of clarity on what I expected made filling those positions more difficult than it had to be.
Absolutely. I can see that. And then the flip side of it is um, playing safe and hiring too low. Or, I'm I've actually had a lot of conversations with some people in my life and some coaches and mentors, both professionally and personally. But this whole idea of sometimes the resources you start with are not the resources you need in the future. And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
figuring out how to manage and navigate that as you've built personal relationships, as your business has grown, and that person maybe doesn't have the capacity for where your
Do they still
business
fit?
is today. They
Yeah.
had the right capacity and skills for where your business was. But Karalynn, I'm sure you like you just jump in and learn.
Yeah.
And so you
Well, and
keep
I think you learn the
developing,
best
and
from,
not everybody does that.
but
And
you
your
learn so much
team
from where
doesn't
you
do it.
fail.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
And don't be wrong, it costs money, it costs time.
Oh gosh. I've spent
Yeah.
some money. I've spent some stupid money on stupid stuff. So if I could have that money back and apply it in other places, life would be golden.
No, I know, but I mean, I think that's how we learn. I mean, I kind of feel disadvantaged because I didn't have an MBA and or an
Yeah.
idea how to figure it out, and I've kind of discounted my thoughts because I didn't have that.
Hmm.
And now I kind of realize it's to my benefit that I never
Yeah.
worked at a huge firm. I never saw how anybody else ran it,
Yeah.
so I got to come up with my own model,
How long
which
have
is
you had your business?
since 2006, coming up on
Okay.
20 years.
Long time.
Yeah,
You must be doing something right because you
yeah,
wouldn't have it still
I know.
19 years later, right?
Yeah.
The average life of a business is what, 5 years, less than 5 years.
Yeah.
So you're doing amazing.
Thank you. I'm trying to figure it out every day, just like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. My other thing is, and I don't know what your point of view on this is um, how to have a saleable business. So this is really on my mind, and I'm the face of my business, and I recognize that's where I need to be. But at some point, I also want this to be a business that extends beyond my lifetime.
I agree.
And not just my lifetime, my work lifetime, because I'm going to reach the point where
I don't want to do
I'm
this
ready to
anymore.
move on and do something else.
Right.
But I would also like to believe that what I'm building has legs and
I agree.
longevity beyond myself.
I agree. And I think honestly, I mean, I think that happens through a sale to somebody else, and hopefully they can have the same passion and carry it on, but you don't know.
You don't know. I was at my dentist yesterday, my husband's dentist. I was in there with one of my kids who's a young adult. This was her first visit to the grown-up dentist versus the pediatric dentist. And Tony, the dentist, has just sold his practice
Yeah.
to somebody else. So this is the practice he built, and
Grew.
it fed his family and his team and everything. And he's moving on. He's ready. He's ready to go do some other things. He was, brought in a young dentist in to take over the practice and stuff. But I could see it in him, like, it's a little scary. It's hard. This is your baby. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
entrusting my baby, and not just my baby, but my clients, my friendships, the relationships I've built. I'm entrusting them to somebody else. It's a little scary.
yeah, I agree. And at one point, you just got to say, I did the best I could, and it's somebody else's. I'm still about
Yeah.
10 to
Yeah.
15 years away from that, but it's where I'm headed.
I think same. There's another local business, a clothing store retailer who shut down, a very successful retailer, shut down after 10 years. And I'm like, I was in there. I'm like, why aren't you selling your business?
Why wouldn't you sell?
Well, I, I just don't know if I trust these other people. I'm like, if at some point it's not yours to
Exactly. You
worry
get
about
paid and move on.
anymore.
It'll either make it or not. But closing,
Yes.
obviously, you don't have the option.
Yeah. And she chose to close instead. I'm like, you could sell this business. It's a good business. But
And
it's
like my
hard.
daughters are all in college now, and I don't think even if they got out that they would have the same passion for what I do.
Yeah.
They would try to change it.
Same.
I think they'd much
Same.
rather have the cash anyways.
Well, and they have to kind of go do their own thing. Like I think about, I have four daughters. One just graduated, two are in college, and one's in high school. And I would love them to be in my business. And in fact, my oldest works in my business, and she does my podcast editing and publishing and stuff like that. So that's a great thing. But I want them to go fly someplace else,
I
get
agree.
some other experience, do their thing, and then do they want to come back into the business later? Sure, that would be
Yeah.
awesome. But go establish yourself, take some risks, do new things, learn new
I agree.
skills, and then the business will
You
either
want to
be
come back?
here
Come
or it
back.
won't.
I agree. My middle daughter just moved to Colorado. I guess she's going into her sophomore year
Nice.
in college. So it's, I only got one left.
Scary. Long.
Very weird.
Yeah. It's all good. I mean, I'm not ready for an empty
Yeah.
nest, but
Yeah, I agree. That seems very odd. I don't know what we're going to do with all this time and each other. And
oh gosh. I know. So so whoever your partner is, you better like them because all of a sudden that's it.
that's it. That's it. That's the two of you. And it's, yeah. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. So the other thing you had on here is the importance of finding your voice and personal
Oh
branding. How
gosh.
important is that for an entrepreneur or any leader?
It is critical. I mean, so I don't. Again, I think when you're inside of a corporate, and I lived, and obviously I lived and worked inside of a corporation for 25 years. I did not feel like I could step out as much as I wanted to. Right? I would
Mhm.
have loved to have done more blogging or LinkedIn posting, whatever. But I was always mindful of being judged, being perceived as whatever. How would this affect me? But when you're an entrepreneur, you have to find your voice. You
Yeah.
have to establish who you are, what your point of view is. And to me, that's the whole voice piece is what is your point of view on this? What do you stand for? What problems do you solve? What solutions do you bring? Who are you? Because at the end of the day, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So you need to get very clear on establishing that. And so I think this whole idea of thought leadership, again, that's like, what the heck is thought leadership? But more importantly, it's about being visible.
Mhm.
For me, LinkedIn is my biggest platform. That's where my colleagues and customers and relationships and business relationships are. It's on LinkedIn. And so that's really critical to me. Once I launched the Chemical Show, it became very much a part of my voice. But it's also the things that I stand for. So when I launched the Chemical Show, I started, I was using a third party service, a business coach I had at the time. And I said, hey, okay, I've decided I'm doing this. Great. Would you like me to introduce you to my podcasting company? They can do it all for you. I'm like, fabulous. Yes. I need some help. I should not be learning all the ins and outs. I should
Yeah.
just be doing this. And kind of the first write-ups and point of view was that, like, oh, chemicals is bad. I'm like, oh, hang tight. That is not my point of view. My point of view on this is chemicals are an essential industry. They're 98% of everything we touch on a daily basis is influenced by chemicals, whether it's your soap that you wash your hands with, the paint on your wall, the filling that's inside the chair that you're sitting on. It is
Mhm.
all a chemical product. So, I'm a big advocate of the industry and very pro chemicals and pro leadership and stuff. So, figuring out that and owning it and
Mhm.
owning your voice, whatever it is so critical. That's how people get to know you. That's what differentiates you. Like, there are other people that do what I do, but we're different. And
Yeah.
how do people know we're different? Because we express ourselves differently. We say different things. We brand ourselves differently. It took me a while, though. I will say, first of all, my personal brand, my voice has evolved tremendously since I started my entrepreneurial journey. Um, I, I didn't, one, I was a different person back then. My experiences were different. My point of view is different. So I've had to really evolve that, and it shows.
Mhm.
And so the people that I attract today are probably different than the people I attracted 8 years ago
Yeah.
because my voice is different. My point of view is different. It's more definitive. And in fact, actually, in a lot of ways, the clearer your voice, the more successful your business.
I agree. I agree. So tell me about your business that you run, the Progresso Go Global.
Yeah, so Progressio Global is the foundation business. So it started really as consulting, but what I do today is strategic advisory work. So I still go in and I work with companies and leaders, helping them address some of their key business challenges and opportunities. I do a lot of executive coaching, again, for leaders who frankly need a sounding board, that needs some guidance, that need that trusted advisor. And then that's also the platform from which I run the Chemical Summit and my other businesses.
That's awesome. So if people wanted to learn more about you or your services, where would they go? Where's the best place to go?
Well, I'm going to tell you, like, LinkedIn is one, and then progressioglobal.com. So it's, it's one of these cases where the shoemaker's kids have no shoes. I do a lot of marketing and strategic marketing, and my website doesn't always reflect that, but we're working on
It's
it.
pretty
But
decent.
it's
I
still
checked
the
it out. It's
best
a pretty
place to
decent
find me.
website. It's
Say
pretty
that
decent
again.
website. I said I checked it out. It's a pretty decent website.
Okay. Yeah. It's evolving.
Yes. Aren't we
Yeah.
all?
Always. And I think that's the other thing I've really learned is done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Progress over perfection. Just getting
Absolutely.
stuff done. Get out of my own way. Get it done. Move on.
Yes.
As
What
an
they call
entrepreneur,
it
you
SFD, the
absolutely
shitty
have to.
first draft.
Say that again.
One start use SFD, a shitty first draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go. And some people think it's amazing. So you're like, okay, great. Moving on.
I'll run with it. I know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Karalynn. Thank you for the invitation. I've really enjoyed this as well.
Perfect. Thank you.